Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the SLP Solution Morning Show. I am your host, Carrie Clark with slpsolution.com. Today is Thursday. Let me look. August 16th. I never know the date. I always struggle with that. Today is Thursday, August 16th, 2018, and today we are talking about animal-assisted speech therapy. So we're talking about how some other speech-language pathologists are incorporating animals into their therapy sessions. I'm very excited about this topic. All right, today's episode is fueled by my new mug from Cardinal Rule Press. This is from my friend Maria Dismondi over at Cardinal Rule Press. This is her publishing company, and she is an author who started off as a classroom teacher, and now she creates these beautiful books. This one is Spaghetti in a Hot Dog Bun. It's all about a little girl who's very different and unique, and she gets picked on for it at school, and so it's her journey to stay true to herself while facing some of that bullying and that picking on that happens. So I really love this one, especially for some of our friends who may be a little different. This is a really good story. So thank you to Maria for sending me this mug. All right, so let's talk about animal-assisted therapy. So the reason I started on this topic, if you're not familiar with this show, I am just starting this show. It's a morning show that we're going to do every weekday morning, and I'm just going to pick a different topic in the field of speech-language pathology to talk about each day. So I have an email address set up at slpmorning@gmail.com where you can email me tips, and I also have Google Alerts set up on there. And one of my Google Alerts yesterday was about this place in Kokomo, Indiana called Speak, and it's all in caps, the word Speak. So that is an acronym. It was in their local Kokomo newspaper, and they were talking about this new animal-assisted therapy program that they have that essentially, from the article, looks like a petting zoo, but they've turned it into this therapy concept where they bring the kids in and the kids help care for the animals, and they get to do all these different things with all of the various farm animals. And while they're interacting with the animals, they're also having this facilitated speech-language therapy session going on where they're encouraging the children to use communication with the animals, with the other people that are there, to request things that they need to take care of the animals. And it just sounds like such a cool program. This particular article was talking about one little girl who is completely nonverbal, and throughout the course of being at this farm during the summer had spoken some of her first words and was able to speak quite a few words now to communicate in this situation. So I just thought it was a really cool story, and I wanted to kind of look around and see what other types of uses of animal-assisted therapy are going on and what kind of research we have on this. So, of course, the first page that I landed on was Miss Peachy Speechy, Meredith over at peachyspeechy.com. She actually has a therapy dog and brings him into her therapy sessions sometimes. I believe his name is Goose, Goose the therapy dog. And so she has a whole page on her website about animal-assisted therapy, in particular with therapy dogs. And that is over at peachyspeechy.com/therapy dogs. So you can check that out. I'll put a link in the comments as well. And you can see all of her information about that. But I did pull a bunch of her information for this show because I know that she's got some really good stuff. So what is animal-assisted therapy then? Animal-assisted therapy is intervention that is delivered by a professional with the participation of an animal. So we're not just bringing in the animal and expecting them to do the speech therapy, obviously, but lots of different animals get to be used for this. Sometimes people are using cats or rabbits or farm animals, goats, horses, all kinds of animals. But dogs are the most common animal used in these types of therapy sessions because they can be trained so well. So it can be, this type of therapy can be incorporated into any type of speech or language goal that someone's working on, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that the therapy target is just directly related to the dog. It could just be that the dog is there to just kind of bring the mood up and increase engagement a little. So what research do we have on this? I looked over on Meredith's site, and she has a couple studies that she mentioned in there that were referencing to the animal-assisted therapy. You can go over there and check those out. I also found a poster presentation from ASHA in 2010, and that was by Dr. Sheila Bernstein. And she did a study with 5 children where animal-assisted therapy was included, and it was a dog. And what she found for her study is that 4 out of the 5 children in the study demonstrated increased linguistic complexity and utterance length when the dog was present. And what I thought was very interesting about this is that 3 of the children were actually scared of the dog, and there was only 1 child that spoke less because of the dog being there. So I think this is just really interesting. Obviously there's going to be children who are just terrified of dogs, and that is going to shut them down, and that's clearly not a good fit for a child to have that type of therapy. But if it's a child who's interested and engaged in the dog, then that's such a cool way to do that, and such a cool way to get them to be more involved in the therapy session and get them to be more engaged. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is how to actually use, sorry, I'm gonna put my hair up because it's really hot, how to actually use the dog during the therapy session. So what does this look like when we're actually doing this? Basically, the dog is a tool. The dog is one of your therapy materials, so to speak. The dog is not the therapy. The dog is not doing the therapy. So you're gonna think about choosing your goal first, just like you would do for any therapy session, whether that's bringing in a computer, bringing in a game. You don't think, man, I really want to use pickup sticks today. I wonder what target I could work on in speech therapy that would go with pickup sticks. You think, I need to work with Johnny on increasing utterance length. How could I use the dog to increase utterance length? So you're going to start with your target, start with your therapy goal, and then you're going to figure out how the dog would fit into that session. Okay, let me make sure I'm getting what she had on there as well. So she gave some examples, such as the dog could participate in the reinforcement and encouragement of the children. Maybe the dog gives some little high fives. Hello, Maria, welcome. I showed your mug. Miss Maria is watching for us. So we talk about the dog being part of the therapy in terms of giving some reinforcement and some support. We talk about maybe the dog is just cuddling on the child's lap while the child is doing the therapy. Maybe that doesn't have anything to do with the dog, but the dog is just present to provide that comfort. We also have giving the dog actual commands. So maybe you use your speech therapy session to target, let's say you're targeting the S sound. You have the dog sit, and you have the dog sit down when the child says it correctly, and when the child doesn't say it correctly, the dog won't sit. So you can use the dog in those kinds of ways. I loved this one. I don't know where you get doggy backpacks, but Meredith talked about having a doggy backpack where the dog wears a backpack that has your therapy materials inside. The child pulls the material out of the doggy's backpack and then says the word or does the skill that's required on that card. I thought that was a really, really fun one. So there's lots of different ways that you can use the animals in therapy. Obviously, out at the petting farm example that I gave at the beginning of the show, they were allowing the children to participate in the caretaking routines. And I love that because if you can imagine, let's say you have a dog in your therapy room, okay? So the children come in and they're excited to see a dog, and then you say, oh my gosh, guys, I didn't have anyone to watch my dog today at home, and he couldn't stay home by himself, so I had to bring him to school, but I need your help. I need you to help me take care of the dog today. Okay, how many children love helping, especially helping take care of an animal? All of them, right? So they get to be a part of it. They get to feel like this sense of responsibility and a big ownership of what's happening. And maybe they come in and they have to brush the dog, and then they have to set up the doggy's bed, and they have to feed the dog, and they have to give the dog fresh water. So there's all these opportunities for communicating, using specific speech sounds if that's what you're working on. There's a lot of ways that you can build those skills into a session with animals. So if you have a question on a skill that you would like to see worked on with an animal and you're wondering how that would work, go ahead and type that in the comments, and I'll be revisiting this post throughout the week and typing in my responses of how I think you could do that with an animal. Okay, so you're just gonna bring your dog to work, right? No, that's not how it works. So if you are just joining us, we are talking about animal-assisted therapy, and Miss Meredith over at peachyspeechy.com has a site or a page called peachyspeechy.com/therapydogs, and she talks about the different types of animal-assisted therapy and how that works. And she has a section on there she talks about how a therapy dog, what the therapy dog needs in order to be certified. So they do need to have obedience training, so you will have to go through that. They do need to be very well socialized. Obviously, they're going to be around some children who don't necessarily know boundaries all the time, so they need to be very well socialized, very well trained. And then once they're trained, they can go through a certification process. There is an organization called Therapy Dogs International, the Alliance of Therapy Dogs, and Pet Partners. Those are 3 different organizations. So if you do have a dog that you think would be a great therapy dog, you can always go through those organizations to find out what's required and how you can make that work. All right, so if you want more information on therapy dogs, head on over to peachyspeechy.com/therapydogs, and Meredith has tons of great information for us on that. And then if you have a story that you would like us to talk about on the show, you can send that to slpmorning@gmail.com. All right, thank you so much for joining us today. We do this show every weekday morning at 9:30 Central Time. You can join us live by liking and following our page, and that will give you notifications when we go live. And then you can also, if you're not available at that time, I know a lot of you are working, so you can always watch the recordings here. You can catch it on iTunes as soon as we get that up and running. iTunes is having some issues right now and won't let me start the podcast on there. But as soon as we get that up and running, you'll be able to listen to it on your way to work or on your way home from work with iTunes. We're putting it on YouTube. We're going to put it on the website once we get the new website redesign up and running. So all kinds of options. For now, go on over to the SLP Solution Facebook page and like and follow us so that you get all of the notifications on there. All right, I think that's it for now. You guys have a wonderful Thursday, and we will see you tomorrow morning on the SLP Solution Morning Show. Don't forget to go to slpsolution.com and learn all about our professional memberships for speech-language pathologists, where we have resources and supports and materials, and you can ask us questions directly. Anything that you are having trouble with, we are there to help. Thanks so much, guys, and have a great day.